What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Creator Network. I'm super excited for today's episode because I wanted to do something a little bit different. You know, in the past, we've had content creators, influencers, etc. But today I wanted to bring in a business owner. And this specific business owner is super special because he is somebody that has pretty much been throughout my entire career. You know, ever since we started, Vic was one of my first clients, and throughout the years, we worked on and off. And I think he has an amazing story to tell. Somebody that I've personally seen start from nothing and build a multi-seven-figure business. I think he has a lot of value and a lot of gems on what it takes to be a first-generation entrepreneur and take something from nothing and build it into complete empire. So without further ado, I'm gonna have my guy introduce himself and share a little bit about what he does, how he got started, what his business does, etc. And so you guys can get to meet the man behind, the company. So we got my guy Vic over here.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it.
So my guy, Vic,
yeah.
You know what I mean?
My name is Victor Castro, 31 years old.
Young gun.
Operating two businesses. I'm in the steel industry, where we manufacture steel buildings on one of the businesses, and then just a new one that we just recently started, which is we're going to be actually manufacturing all our own just materials that we need for these steel buildings and be able to supply to contractors and so on.
Yeah, so as you can see, we're here in his facility. This is the second facility, actually. We decided to shoot it here because we figured, hey, like, what better place to have as a backdrop instead of doing it at the HQ or doing it at the office, like something that resembles who he is, right? But one of the key things that you said, bro, was like you're 31, you're super young, right? At what age did you start?
So I actually opened my first business. I started it when I was 25 years old.
25, wow.
Got the idea, obviously I used to work for a company previously doing the same thing. Yeah. Started with them when I was 18. Wow. I liked the job from the very beginning, so I did very good at it, even when I worked for another business doing this. I was an installer for them. Yeah, a year after I started with them, they pretty much moved me into a foreman position. So at 19 years old, very young age, I'm already in charge of people that were even older than me, which was a little bit of a challenge, but I think it just kind of built me to
that character. Because I think at that age, like probably managing people that are older than you, they don't kind of take that lightly, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
So what did you have to how did you have to build up your personality to be able to stand that,
I think more than anything, obviously I always treated people with respect, and I've always liked to get down and dirty with them. Never just pointed fingers and say, do this, do that, kind of more of a leader, less of a boss of let's do it together. This is what we're doing, this is what we're working on today, and we're gonna tackle this together.
That's powerful.
So I think more than anything, just gain that respect within that.
I think you made a great point, right? Because I think a lot of the times, like, people think being a leader and a boss are the same thing, and it isn't. A boss will tell you what to do, and the leader will actually show you. And more than likely, the leader is gonna come from actually have done what they're telling you to do. You know what I mean? So now it transitions from coming at you from a place of experience because you've done it, instead of just trying to tell you what I think you should do, right? Yes, and I think you said something that was super powerful in one of our videos, which is when people tell you, like, hey, it can't be done, you're like, no, it can, because I've done it before.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah, I'm very hands-on with everything I do. I like to be first at learning what we're doing, kind of taking the initiative, and then once I fully understand what we're doing, I proceed with training someone to do that particular position or that job that's needed.
Yeah, so I love that.
Yeah.
And so one of the main reasons why I wanted to bring Vic in is because I think a lot of people who are going to be watching this episode are going to be first-generation entrepreneurs, first-generation business owners, and obviously us being Latinos, Mexicans, it's very needed, right, in our community for people to start opening up about what they do, because I think if we're able to open up about what we do and how we do it, then it's going to be a less of a toxic environment on social media when people attack you for saying, oh, I do X amount of money, or I do this, or here's how I've been able to change my life. It's not just bragging, it's you're laying out a blueprint for other people to follow, right? I think you're the first person that I've seen really build within the metal space industry, what you would call that? Yeah, like steel business company. The branding and the content and on social media, and how that has even opened up doors to you, which is important for other people to see, because again, right, there's so much judgment on social media with anything that you do, right? If somebody sees you winning, oh, you're probably selling drugs, you're probably being unethical, you're probably scamming people, you're probably doing, it's like, no, like you can build a truly successful business and, you know, put it out there on social media for other people to now see that doing what you do is possible. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yes, of course. They just see the nice side of things. They don't see the struggle behind closed doors of what really goes into the stress at some point that you have to go through, just the long hours. You know, that's what most people don't see. They just see the nice things that go on social media. You know, and they're just quick to criticize.
Yeah, I mean, you've kind of had that a little bit, you know, even
Yeah.
just recently with us posting content. Like, how does that feel initially, and then how are you able to like to navigate it to be like, hey, even though they're judging me for this, I know who I am and I know what I'm going after, and if they don't understand it yet, eventually they will, right?
Right. More than anything, I mean, everybody has their opinion. It doesn't make me or break me. I just kind of just let them have their own opinion on it. I know which way I'm going with it. I know my purpose and what I'm doing. I think everybody looks at it how they want to look at it, whether it's with some sort of hate, jealousy, or actually how do you say it? Yeah, curiosity. When people are gonna speak, they're gonna have their own opinion on it.
Yeah,
You know,
100%.
as long as I know my intentions are good, they're pure, and that's all.
Yeah. So adding to what Vic said, one of the things that Vic is developing right now is going to be a community and a platform for people that are either installers or want to get into the same space as he is, where they're going to be able to learn specifically from Vic how he was able to build a multi-seven-figure business in the last 6 years, doing what he does and going from being an installer, somebody that's in the field, to now building a, you know, basically an empire and a business that now has specific different teams that go and do the jobs on site, and all he does now is just manage. Obviously, we're still on the field, as you guys can see based on the content that we've been putting out. Vic still shows up, like he said, he does like to lead by example, but in essence, I think he has such a strong opportunity, because in our community, like, we're very heavy, like, hard labor, you know, people, right? Whether it's in construction, whether it's in landscaping, whether it's in, you know, installing carports and stuff like that, it's needed, right? You know.
Right.
So what's some of the value that they can kind of expect being a part of your community?
More than anything, is just guidance on how to avoid certain mistakes, certain little hiccups, way of dealing with certain things, systems. Something that I had to learn the hard way. It took me, again, 6 years to learn certain things, and I think it just could be done in a lot faster pace with the right leadership and guidance.
Do you feel like what you know now, you could have done it within the first 2 years of business if you knew things that you know now?
Yeah, of course, definitely. Having that guidance would have changed a lot of things. Yeah, we lost a lot of deals, lost money, but at the end of the day, we gained that experience, you know?
I think that's one of the things that me and you were talking about, how, like, same thing with you, right? I think if I knew what I knew now and I had the confidence that I have now, I would have been here faster. But again, right, I think everything happens for a reason, and I think God puts us through these challenges so that when we do finally jump both feet into what we're meant to be and our purpose, then now we're able to help other people navigate. It's like, hey, don't do this because this is gonna happen.
Right.
Like, I've done it. You
Right,
know,
right.
don't do this, or you might be thinking this, but in reality, this is what's gonna happen, and you're gonna get stuck here. So you're able to kind of foresee their steps without them even having to go to them, because, you know, we've already gone through them.
Right,
You know,
of course.
And I think even one of the most, I would say the most challenging part about business is the confidence. You know what I mean? Because if you don't have that confidence within yourself, you can have all this knowledge, but it means nothing if you don't apply it. You
Yeah,
know,
definitely.
even with like social media, like when because obviously I'm a content creator, right? And there's things where I'm like, oh, this would be really dope. And then I sometimes would second guess myself, because I was like, what are people gonna think? When I started talking about like the amount of income that you can make as a content creator, I was like, man, people are gonna say that I'm just about the money, and it isn't, right?
Right.
But it's all these things that I know in some shape or form are gonna help motivate somebody and inspire somebody, because that's how I got started. You know, I would see
Right.
other people posting contents, seeing their lifestyle, seeing this, and then I'd be like, damn, I want to be like that, you know?
Right,
But like
right.
you said, there's also going to be that other side of people that judge and criticize, but that has nothing to do with you, you know?
Right, exactly.
So what would be some like, you know, let's say somebody that wants to transition over from being an installer to now building a team, what would you feel would be like two good pieces of advice that they can take away?
I would say it's just figuring out which way or there's just multiple ways of going about it. I mean, because you could have your own business, run your own business without having to do the manufacturing portion of it. So you could buy the kits, have your own set of customers, pick up those kits from a manufacturer like that we are, and just have your handful of customers that you want to work with. That's one route. You know, now if you wanted to go with the manufacturing side of things, well, obviously you're gonna need some money or credit, something to leverage off of to be able to purchase some machinery.
I love that. And I think so, for example, like the first one that you said, it's probably going to be the easiest one for people to do, right? Because they just need the
Yes.
skill set. So when it comes to that side of things, like how can somebody turn, let's say, one project into multiple for a month, right? Because I think a lot of times, like, that's probably people's biggest struggle, right? Which is acquiring the clients. Like, what were some of the things that you would do to acquire clients when you first got started?
I think social media is big, was very big for me from the very beginning. Just like you stated earlier, when we started working at an early stage, and I think it was big, just getting yourself out there, getting clients that way.
And posting it
Yeah,
too.
exactly. Posting your work, making sure the work is done correctly, so that you're able to brag about it in a way, you know.
And I think that's important, right? Because one of the key things that I always try to tell everybody is like, your problem isn't acquiring clients. Your problem is letting other clients know that other people have worked with you, right? Because once you're able to showcase that, like you said, right? It's like, even if you get one client a month, but you milk that one opportunity in terms of content, people are going to perceive it as like, man, this guy is like crushing it. He's busy. He does great work. People are hiring him, etc. So now, whenever you go and pitch to somebody else, you can say like, you know, here's what I've done for this client, right? And you can use the exact one piece of content and now showcase it to every other client, and now you develop that trust because now you've shown that other people have worked with you, so that gives them that peace of mind to say, hey, I can trust this guy too as well. Would you feel like that was the case with you?
Yeah, for the most part, yeah. Again, just and giving people ideas, you know, like there's people that will look at some type of work that you're doing, and they'll be like, well, I didn't know you could do that. You know, I had a different idea with it, but after I watched your video, I think I want to go that route with it. So more than anything, it also educates the public to what you're doing.
It's true, right? Because I think he actually did some work for West Coast Customs, and I want to deep dive a little bit into that. Even seeing it from that perspective, right? Because West Coast Customs is everything custom, right? When I started working with you, I used to think that carports and metal buildings were just carports and that was it, right? And then he started showing me videos of like people making like whole gyms of it, whole like batting cages to like start businesses, man caves, like you name it. And I was like, damn, this is crazy. Like I actually would want one. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
I've seen some crazy stuff. I've seen tire shops go up with these.
yeah.
Just kind of people just trying to store their cars, classic cars.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we could get pretty creative with them.
I mean, even the dispensary thing that you were telling me about, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not a one size shoe fits all. It's like everything custom, and I think that's one of the reasons why Vic thrives and what he does, because it isn't just plug and play. You know what I mean? He can build something custom to you, whatever it is that you're trying to do. Whether you're trying to build a business within it, whether you're trying to build a man cave, whatever you want to do, like, you know, Vic is definitely your guy. And before we continue to deep dive into this, I'm gonna let you know that I'm gonna be leaving his info down below, so that you guys can go follow him, start showing him some love, and just start learning from it, right? Whether you're somebody that wants to get into the game, you might be fresh into it, and you're wanting to transition from whether it's construction, whether it's being an installer, whether it's being an electrician or whatever, and you want to learn more about how to scale it, because I think what he does can translate over into a lot of those manual labor sort of fields, right? So again, I'm gonna leave his info down below so you guys can go and check him out. But now let's hop into the West Coast Custom thing. How did that even happen?
Pretty much they reached out to us. They reached out to us looking to get some projects done. It was something that was more of a promotional type of thing.
Okay.
We did some work for them in exchange for promo. Nothing too crazy, very basic buildings. They were looking just to keep some material out of the weather. And we ended up going out there and assembling these units for them.
Sorry to like kind of steer away, but I use something that was very powerful and something that I firmly believe in is doing stuff in exchange for promo, right? When I was during COVID, it was one of my toughest years because again, the majority of my business went out the window because that was heavy real estate, right? We couldn't do anything, you know? We couldn't go to the houses because nobody wanted anybody near them or their house. We couldn't do traditional marketing. We couldn't do anything, bro. So it was like somebody literally pulled an e-brake on my business, you know? And so one of the things that I was able to see during that moment was like, okay, if the people that I would desire to work with are probably stuck at home just as much as I am. So that means that they're spending a lot more time on social media, right? So I'm like, who do I really want to work with? And then I was, you know what, I want to work with people who have large audiences, big platforms, whether it's YouTubers, famous people, celebrities, etc. Let me reach out to them. Let me create some content for them in exchange for, like you said, promotion, right? And that's exactly what I did. And I think that was one of the biggest blessings in my career, even though it was through one of the toughest times in my career, but it allowed me to take my brand and my career to a whole nother level because I was willing to, you know, give something away for free in exchange for promotion and more awareness to my business. Can you talk a little bit deep dive into how you were able to do that for your business?
As far as like promotion and stuff like that?
How is that valuable to you, you know?
It just gets you out there, you know. It gets you out there to the public. You get more set of eyes. I think everything has its value to it. Not everything is money. You know, there's different ways of getting value from certain things. And then just going like to the West Coast Customs, they actually put us out on one of their episodes, which I have people to this day that still call me and be like, "No way, you never told me you were on Netflix."
On West Coast Customs, yeah.
On the West Coast Customs on Netflix. They actually ended up doing an episode. They're doing like they're renovating like an RV for Dr. Pepper. So while we were there, they were recording for that, and we ended up coming out in that episode. I have family members that live in different parts of the country. They'll call me and be like, "Hey, I just seen you on Netflix show with West Coast Customs."
That's sick.
You know, so I mean, just that itself, it got me out there, and it continues to get me out there. Crazy story on that as well. We were eating lunch. I was out doing an install, went out for lunch with my guys, and we're sitting there eating, and next thing you know, that particular episode comes up, and I ended up, they start airing because they did like a small little interview. I talk in that episode. And then somebody just points at me and be like, "Hey, that's him, that's him." So I got pretty like embarrassed just already, and everyone's just turning, pointing at me, you know. And but yeah, I mean, people just started noticing that. And again, that was a few years back. Until this day, I still get people that run into that episode and
then even now that's leverage that you can say, you know, on your website, you know, as seen on West Coast Customs, as seen on, you know, X, Y, and Z, etc. That builds your brand, right?
Exactly.
It's attaching your name to a brand that either might be in a couple steps ahead of you that helps you create that status and that, you know, credibility that a lot of times people don't understand when it comes to like doing stuff for free or giving away stuff or, you know, just doing giveaways of your time, not giving away your time in exchange for value and promotion. It's beneficial because that takes you 10 steps further than you not having that opportunity, right? I think for you to take your career and your business to success and a lot faster, you have to have at-bats. And what I mean by at-bats is opportunities. So you can either, you know, condense that, you know, let's say 5 years that would have taken you by doing job after job after job after job till you get that recognition, or you can attach yourself to a brand that has a higher status and higher leverage than you to where it automatically makes you jump 10 steps ahead. Now that doesn't mean that, you know, you can't, you know, you gotta raise up your bar too now of your quality, your attention to detail, how good you are in your product and your service, because again, if just as fast as you can go up, if you don't sustain that quality of excellence of service, then immediately all this is irrelevant. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
yeah. And that's something that I've learned, even I mean, working with you and just throughout the process of things. You know, it's just sometimes it's hard to stay consistent on certain things, like as far as like promo to your business, to yourself. You know, just because you have a million things going on, but you just have to make time for everything.
Yeah, and I think even with that, you know, one of the biggest things that I've personally noticed, and obviously doing my own personal branding too as well, is that I can post a video that might have a lot of value in it, and nothing will happen, bro. But then a week later, or 2 weeks later, or a month later, somebody is like, "Hey, I saw this video, and at the time I wasn't ready to do it, but now I'm in. Now I want to do it." And then that converts into something that, you know, just makes all that time worthwhile, right?
Right.
You know?
Yeah, that's something I'm pretty new on myself as we started posting all these videos. Starting to get that interaction from people. Starting to see a lot more support, I mean, from people I've never met, you know, which is pretty cool.
You're paving the way, man, and I think that's something that's beautiful, because now the blueprint, it's gonna be based on what you do.
Yeah, I've got messages where like, "Hey, appreciate you talking about certain things in the video, very motivational. Keep going. I look to do something very similar in the future."
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah, see, and even stuff like that's the biggest thing that, like, you know, Vic and I talk about this all the time, where it's like, when you're in business, I think now, especially with how the economy is and just how things are, you always got to have different ways to monetize what you do and your personal brand, right? So for example, his main tier right now might be, you know, the installs and, you know, getting people to come in and buy the kits, etc. Now he can add a community where he can help guide other people to achieve the same success he has, or even condense that time. So that's another vertical, right? You can also add coaching, you can add digital products, you can add other stuff that still aligns with what you do, so that in that time, as you're building content and you're putting it out, you have so many buckets for you to be able to monetize from, right? So it's not just, hey, if you don't fit this box, I can't help you. It's like, hey, you might not fit this box, but you could be a perfect candidate for this. For the community, you can be a perfect candidate for the kids, you can be a perfect candidate for so many other things. So it's like, now every single lead that comes in, now you're maximizing it, because it's like, hey, I have something. Whether you come in through my personal brand, you're gonna land in any one of my buckets. And I have those systems in place so that as I create content, I'm bringing in revenue consistently and not just, you know, geared on one. But another thing that I remember right now when you were talking about this is like the whole machete situation. Like, how did that come about?
So it's crazy. We're doing a job for a customer of ours in the LA area, finishing up, cleaning up the job site. We always tend to go in there with the blower, clean everything up, any shavings, all that sort. There's a guy that comes up to the fence, grabs onto the fence. "Hey, whenever you're done cleaning there, come over here and take some measurements. I'm looking to get one." I'm like, "Yeah, for sure. Let me finish cleaning up. I'll be over there." And then the customer's like, "Do you know who that was?" I'm like, "No, but it looks very familiar. Like I've seen him somewhere." And he's like, "Oh, that was Machete." But I couldn't put two and two together. I was like, "Machete, I don't know anybody with that name or anything." Just didn't come to mind. And then walked over there, and he welcomed us to his house, and then I started.
You realizing?
I realized that it was him. You know? Yeah. So,
how was that? Like, nerve-wracking, or how was it?
no, he's actually really cool guy. Like very welcoming. Very. What can I get you? What do you need? Here, I'll hold the tape for you while you measure. No, I got it. No, here, I got it. I'll get them.
Bien acomedido.
Yeah, bien acomedido. Really. And kind of, so we went multiple times before he decided to proceed with this project. And again, just welcomed us inside his house, sat down on his couch and everything. Like, sit down. I remember I went a total of 3 times over to his house. On the second time, he asked me, he's like, "Hey, you have kids?" I said, "Yeah." He's like, "Bring them over next time you come." So I took them, and he ended up giving them some toys and stuff. So, really cool guy.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's a whole experience.
Yeah, even at the time when we started installing his project, he was very hands-on, trying to help, and I'm like, "No, we got it." No, I want to help.
Yeah, he's very like that kind of guy.
Yeah, that kind of guy. So, again, cool experience, cool guy.
Like, how was his carport? What was it?
It was just a small little carport. I think he was trying to cover his classic cars.
Okay.
Yeah, so he has multiple classic cars, and I think he was just trying to keep them out of the weather. Something very basic. In the LA area, the city part, there's really not that much space. So something very small, nothing too crazy, but and it was custom, but we made it happen. So we had to go out there a couple times, get some measurements, and just come up with different ideas of how we could do it, just because we're limited in space.
Yeah, I mean, it's restricted space, but I think that's one of the cool things that I like about Vic is that he always says, we'll make it happen, right? Like, you're never like, hey, I'm not doing that, or I'm not taking that project, or we can. It's always like, we'll figure it out,
Of course,
you know? And I think that's something that I would say it's like a great takeaway for anybody that's watching this episode, whether you're in content creation, whether you're in installer, in construction, in e-commerce, and whatever, like, anything is possible, and there's always a way. And if you push yourself to always have that standard, you're gonna get a lot more value. Short term, it might be less monetary wise, but long term, just that experience alone is gonna take you to a whole other ball game that people aren't willing to go. I think Alex Hermosi says this best. He's like, whenever I start feeling that it starts getting harder, I enjoy it because I know not everybody's gonna be willing to take themselves there.
Right.
Would you agree that has been like
Yeah,
staple in your
definitely.
success?
I think more than anything as well, just being okay with being uncomfortable. If you're uncomfortable, you're doing something. You're out of your comfort zone, whether you're growing or you're doing something right. You know, when you're comfortable, you're not really getting much done. You're just kind of stuck in the same spot. You know, so that's something that I've learned throughout time. Like, I tend to get bored when I'm comfortable. Like, I feel like life becomes a routine for me when I'm comfortable. So I'm like, what's next? What are we doing next that's challenging? That's gonna
Spark it up again.
spark it up again. You know, and
Yeah.
I mean, I think I could speak for a few people. It tends to get like that at times. That just gotta figure out what's next, which route are we going.
Yeah.
And I when I feel like I'm comfortable, try to figure out what's next, where we're going, what are we doing.
Yeah. What's the next? What do I call it? The next mountain to climb.
Yeah, just I mean, for me, honestly, it's just initial investment. Everything as we grow, it requires investment, right? And then seeing the outcome of it, knowing that you invested, you have to put that work in. At least for myself, you know, I force myself as if we're gonna make this step, we're gonna make this investment. I need to be able to push it through all the way to be able to see a good outcome out of it.
100%.
You know?
And I think that's one of the main reasons why a lot of people don't do certain things, right? Because it's like, hey, I know if I do this, it's gonna take me 3 months, it's gonna take me 6 months, heck, it might even take me a year or longer. The people that put themselves through that are the people that win, right? Because if you're somebody that's like, it's gonna take me 3 months, I don't wanna wait that long, it's gonna take me 6 months, I don't wanna, you've already lost.
Right.
Because you know that time is still going to pass regardless if you do it or not, right? But the biggest difference of you getting to somewhere different and not staying stuck where you are is you committing to ride it out through that entirety of time, you know? And even for us, like, developing like the whole coaching aspect of it has been such a crazy learning curve, you know, because we're like, oh, we gotta do this, we gotta do that, and then once things are laid out, it's like, damn, we didn't even need to do all of that, you know what I mean? Or, you know, we need to fix our avatar, we need to be more intentional with the way that we say things, we gotta be more direct in how we approach the content, we can't make it seem like it's that easy. So it's like a bunch of like tweaks and adjustments, but you don't learn that until you put yourself through that pain.
Right. Maybe at the beginning, kind of just overthink it a little bit, right?
100%.
Yeah.
It's like I told you, right? Like when I started talking about my income, I was like, damn, what am I doing? Like people are gonna like judge me for it. Like my family's gonna think that I'm like this and that, or like, you know. And I think one of the key things for me was like, there's a quote that says, how does it say? It's kind of like in the essence of like only those that have goals know what it's like to have money and not have money at the same time. Right? Because you're always constantly reinvesting back into the business. Like, hey, what do I gotta do to grow? Hey, what I do to scale even further? Right? Cool, I got here, but what's it gonna take for me to get to that 7-figure mark? What's it gonna take for me to get to that 7-figure mark? So it's a
kind of reinvesting, right?
100%,
Yeah,
bro.
honestly, that's where I get my rush, like, and that's what kind of keeps me going. Like, I know I've invested. I need to make something happen. I need to make it work, regardless, and that just makes me commit to it 100% all the way through, you know, and just kind of keep pushing, keep pushing.
Yeah, I mean, when we shop content in here, we always talk about like, how much was this? How much was this? How much was the building? How much was the rent? And I'm like, God damn, like, you know, it even motivates me because I'm like, damn, like, I mean, obviously I've made, you know, coaching investments of like $10,000, $8,000, $6,500, and I'm like, okay, cool, bro, but you're doing six-figure investments, like that's a whole nother ball game.
Right, right. And sometimes I don't see it myself until I sit back and just run all the numbers, all the investment that has gone through, and then I'm just like, dang, that's a lot of money. We gotta make this work. You know, we gotta make sure this works.
It's that pressure.
Yeah, you know. But at the beginning, I'm just like, yeah, we gotta pay for this, pay for that, and then reality hits of this is how much we're out now.
We gotta make it work, you know.
Yep.
But like you said, that is that rush, you know. And I think, you know, obviously me working with like high-level entrepreneurs, that's something that's consistent across the board, right?
Right.
You know, one of my clients who's a coach, he's invested 1.5 million in an event. You know, he brought out Floyd Mayweather, he brought out Magic Johnson, Meek Mill, Rick Ross, like big time players, right? And hosted in a venue in Vegas, whole airport covered with his stuff to his wall. And I'm like, that's where I'm trying to get to. You know what I mean? I think instead of seeing things from like, hey, I want to make this kind of money, it's like how much money can I put out in my marketing? How much money can I put out in my branding? That's where you really see the measure of success, because if he's doing 1.2 on an event, you can only imagine how much he's making per that month, you know?
Exactly. And you always want to just surround yourself with people around like that, you know, to keep that motivation going.
Yeah,
you know?
100%.
And that's what I've seen throughout the process. A lot of people will keep up, some won't. You'll meet new people that give you that motivation, just to kind of keep going.
Yeah, you nailed it earlier when you said, you know, like being around people that are way bigger than you, right? Because it gives you like a different perspective. Like when, you know, obviously with you, it's like, damn, he's this facility. Damn, like, you know, he's investing this much. I'm like, what do I got to invest into? You know, what do I got to put my money in to help build my brand? And I think a lot of times too, like it's one of those things where it's like, how is this going to create like a return on investment for my brand? And will it, right? I think that comes from having confidence within yourself to know it's like, hey, I know I'm gonna make this work. And I know this is gonna bring the return that I want, or it's gonna be the investment that I knew I needed to make for me to get to that next ball game, right? Because, you know, when you decided to get this second location, it wasn't like, oh, I already have clients that are gonna come in and just buy all these kits. It was like, hey, I know eventually it will come. Hey, I know that this is gonna bring in income to my already established business because I see it. I see that confidence in within myself, and I see those patterns that I know it will be a big deal, right? Because you see the void in that space, right?
Yeah, and just even from my first business, I've gone through pretty much everything you could go through, you know, all the struggles, as far as that goes. So it kind of built that confidence of starting this next business of, I think we can make it happen, you know, one way or another. I mean, we've seen a little bit of everything. Let's go ahead and just push for it and let's make it happen.
Yeah, I love that. And I think one of the key things that you said is that desire to keep going. You know, I think you and I were having this conversation, and it kind of really opened up my eyes too, you know, because I think we're both fathers, right? And one of my challenges when I got to the position that I'm in right now was that it made me sit in a place and really kind of reevaluate everything in my life. You know, I was like, what do I really desire? Like, how much money do I really want, right? And is it going to be beneficial taking that time away from my family? Is it going to be worth the effort, right? And I think when it was the first time analyzing it, I didn't know the exact answer. I was just kind of like feeling what that was, right? Because I had never been in a place like this where I can analyze it and I'll be like, okay, what do I want to do? It was more out of, like you said, right, that pressure and that, you know, fear of like, you know, not being able to make it, right? And I think as a dad, it made me realize like, hey, the biggest form of love is sacrificial love, right? You know, hence why, you know, Jesus gave his life to, you know, basically save all of us, right? And it made me realize like there's so much more that I desire, but how can I be more efficient with it, right? How can I be more intentional with my time and direct this so that as I'm building and as I want to achieve more, how can I do that with now acquired knowledge, right? Because you're already in like step 10 compared to somebody that's in step one, right?
Right.
So now other people can follow your blueprint to get to step 2, step 3, step 4, and eventually get to where you're at, right? And now you're being more intentional with your time as you're building your personal brand. Would you agree?
Right, yeah. And one thing that I've learned over time is just building the right team. Like that's the, like with the new business, what I'm doing now that I didn't do before. My first business, I try to do everything. I try to run the day-to-day operations, try to go out there, do installs, try to do a little bit of bookkeeping and just planning department. And that just had me tied up in the business. I would say like 18 hours a day, you know, just kind of going at it daily, sometimes 7 days a week, missing out on a lot. And what I've just learned throughout time and something that I will be do different here is obviously just creating that good team, systems, and being able to operate that way. I feel like it'd just be more efficient, more of a smooth process of
Yeah.
going about it.
Because I think that's the biggest value from learning from other people and getting into bigger rooms is that condension of time, right? Where it's like, hey, what took you 6 years, if you had a program or if you're just a friend of Vic or a friend of somebody who's killing it, it's like, what can I learn from them? And the biggest value isn't how they do it, but it's like, how can you condense that time to achieve the exact same result, you know? And I think that's one of the reasons why I was so heavy into investing into coaching too, because I was like, how can I condense the amount of time that it's going to take for me to get to a certain place that I desired, that I knew was still going to take me a long time, but now that I'm invested into this, now I can condense that into 1 or 2 years instead of 5 or 6. You know?
And that's something that I've seen, that even our culture, we have to embrace it and be more willing to be coachable as well. We're always we're so used to just screwing each other over, getting screwed over by our own culture, 100%. That we're just like, man, is that guy really gonna show me how to make things happen? Is he really gonna point me in the right direction? I mean, you know, just because we're so used to being scammed by our own culture.
I 100% want to deep dive a little bit further into that, because I say that all the time too. Like, that's our first taste of coaching and mentorship and entrepreneurship was people trying to sell us the dream on Herbalife or MLM structured businesses that damn near like people aren't going to be able to grow success. I mean, obviously some people didn't, they're killed it, right?
Right.
But once you get to that lower tier, it's kind of like you're just like at the end of it, you know what I mean? And you won't really get anything from it. But so I feel like that kind of gave our people like a bad taste in our mouth in terms of like entrepreneurship, because they made the investment and they quickly realized it wasn't what they thought, right?
Right.
But this is the whole reason why I created, even this this podcast, or this, just these conversations in general, because I got exposed to so many entrepreneurs and so many people that were crushing and doing real businesses, that I was like, hey, I want to be able to bring these people on so that our people can see like, hey, like, yo, Vic made a multi-7-figure business off of, carports and metal buildings. Like, yo, Jose did a content creation, multiple 6-figure content creation career path. Like, I don't know, you can do that. Like, coaching, you're talking online education, franchises. I mean, Suavecito, same thing. Like,
right.
There's so many businesses out there that a lot of times we don't get to see, because even in our culture, like even showcasing it, it's uncomfortable for us, because it's like, we're gonna be judged. I shouldn't be talking about money. I shouldn't be talking about what I have. I shouldn't be talking about this, when it's like, this is why we are where we're at,
Right.
And why there's so much negativity when somebody does talk about it, because it's like, that shit ain't possible. You're lying to us. You just make your money from teaching other people how to do it. It's like, no, like we build businesses before we even started offering coaching or mentorship or, communities. Like, we've literally done the grunt work before that even came into play. That's just another avenue of us to monetize, you know what I mean?
Right.
But
no, yes,
I agree, man.
I agree 100%.
It's crazy, bro. But what's been like your now talking about income, right? What's like the biggest month that you had like in business that you're like, damn, I can't believe I hit this number, or that you were like, okay, now I'm really onto something and this motivates me to continue to keep grinding harder?
I think we did 3 million in revenue one month. Yeah, which
That's crazy.
yeah, that's kind of we're going at a very fast pace, just growing drastically, and this was maybe like 2 years ago. Yeah, I mean it was a crazy month. It was very hectic month for sure,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's probably the best month that I've seen.
How did that make you feel, like on a personal level, coming from what you come from?
It kind of told me yes, it's doable, keep going. But I just changed a couple things as I started moving forward as well, because I was just so focused on that, just moving things quickly, and I kind of from now I kind of slowed down a little bit, just to focus more on just production quality, systems, and just making things a lot smoother. When we're moving just very fast paced and with a good amount of hiccups along the way, I know, and I started looking at things of how we could avoid those hiccups.
Got it. So I think more than anything, I think that's one of the things that I want to like emphasize, right? The more money that you make, it makes you aware of the flaws that you have,
Yes.
right? Because it's in anything, right? And it's both a good thing and a bad thing, but it's mainly a positive thing, right? Because like you said, right now it's like now you realize, hey, it's not about revenue goals, it's about how to be more efficient, how to be more systemized, so that when we do have these months, it's just standard, and if
Right.
it just feels like clockwork, there's no hiccups, there's no mistakes, and now you grow efficiently, right? And now you have a lot less hiccups, and also too, it doesn't impact your business in a negative way, because a
Right.
lot of times we don't realize that when we do make more money, it comes with a lot more expectations, and it comes with a lot more discipline and a lot more responsibility, right? So
Yep.
if you're somebody that's watching this and you desire to make more money, you have to realize that it's going to be hard, and you're going to have to develop yourself into a new version of you, be able and capable of handling that amount of pressure, right? Because that amount of money comes with pressure. And a lot of times when it comes to like social media, people don't talk about that. They just see like, oh, I made 3 million and now I have this and I have that. Cool. But the back end is crazy.
Yeah. What you had to go through to get to that point, right?
The pressure, the long nights, the days where you're just like, I don't even know if I want to do this anymore. But again, right, it's that self-analyzation, and I think that's the biggest thing to get yourself to where you're at, where it's like, hey, let me analyze what I'm doing wrong. It's like, yeah, the money's cool and all that, but what am I doing wrong? How can I be better, right? If you're somebody that's not willing to self-analyze and reflect and look back and internalize like what you do great and what you need improvement on, I mean, that 3 mil is only going to come once and it's never going to come again, you
Right,
know,
right.
because you're not developing the skills necessary to sustain that, you know what I mean?
Right. No, yes, of course. So that's pretty much what I ended up doing on that, just kind of taking that as a learning experience. Again, we made it happen, very fast paced, did a lot of hiccups. Let's slow down a little less on revenue, but let's just be more productive on it, produce better quality and work.
I love that. Huge. And then in terms of like, I would say the team building aspect of it, I think this is probably one of the second most important things, right? How do you go about finding the right person to like take over a specific role that, so I think a lot of us that are like, business owners, we have a certain expectation of how we want certain things, but that doesn't mean that somebody else can either do it better or as close to be able to produce at a higher volume, right? So kind of what's your strategy and your approach when it comes to like bringing people onto the team?
Yeah, so my thing, I'm big on like energy and just the vibes that they bring into the department that they're joining. The vibe has to be there. Just the energy has to be there. As far as just putting someone responsible in certain departments, I'm always open to ideas. I like people that bring new ideas, bring new ways of doing things. So I build off of that, And if we're running a certain way, you think it's better to do it another way. Explain to me why and how could we make that happen and what we need to change to make that happen. So I'm very open to that. I love when my team comes to me with ideas on how to do certain things.
Because they're in a niche position.
Yeah, because that means they're just wanting to grow themselves as well. I mean, they don't want to keep things the same. They want to be able to see changes and what they do as well.
Yeah, because I think one of the mistakes that I feel like a lot of times people, when they're in a business that they don't own, they just see it as like a job or just something to do without realizing like, hey, by putting a lot more effort into this and this company grows, I also grow, right? Especially working with like people like us, it's not always about like, hey, we just want you to perform a role or a position and that's where you're gonna be. It's like, no, like you bring more ideas, you bring in more opportunities, you help me see things that I possibly might not see. I'm gonna reward you for that, right? Because now you're letting me know that you genuinely care about this for it to grow to a higher level where you're gonna get compensated even more, right? And I think that's the beauty about people like ourselves, that we generally want people to grow within our infrastructure so that it's not just us, doing this and that and saying this. It's like, hey, bring something to the table and you'll be rewarded for that. And that gives you a skill set that if, let's say down the road, you're like, hey, now I want to do my own thing. You already experienced it without the responsibility of having the overhead, without the responsibility of having to go and find the business, without the responsibility of, X, Y, and Z, you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, and then one thing that I'd like to have like long conversations with my team, like, and just explain to them my vision of how I see things going, where I would like to see us go, what targets I would like to see us hit. So I'm very open when it comes to that, and I like for them to see what I see.
I love that. So one of the biggest things that I like to do in these episodes, it's like giving game, right? Something that people can take and apply so that, they can go and make money from, right? For you, let's say you're taking yourself back to that first, second year of business, what would be the top 2 things or 3 things that you would tell somebody like, hey, do this and do it this way, and you're gonna be able to get an extra client a month? It doesn't have to be nothing crazy, but just something that they can take away and now build upon, right? So for example, earlier you talked about the social media portion of it, right? Where we started documenting, we started creating content, and then you started running ads on that, and then that started bringing in business. Would you say that's probably the thing that they can take and apply today? Or what would it be?
Yes, I would say that. I'll obviously promote yourself, get yourself out there, and then just produce quality work. Focus on quality, work with quality materials, quality workmanship, and that alone will get you very far. And just be very educational when it comes to your customers knowing the product. What you're selling, what you're installing, what you're manufacturing. Just be very open on to what it is that you have to offer, and that itself will get you
the results.
Yes.
And I want to add on to that, you know what I mean? I think kind of what we were talking about earlier, it's like whenever you get an opportunity, maximize it. Whether it's, for example, like let's say you're doing an install, right? And then let's say for that install, you're only making, I don't know, let's say $5,000 profit, right? Hire somebody to go and document that, whether you pay them $500, $1,000, whatever that amount might be. Yeah, you might be feeling like, damn, well now I'm only 4K profit or 3,500 profit. But what you don't realize is now you're taking that piece of content to help you extract more clients, because now that they see the quality of work that you do, they see the value in it and the level of care that you have, right? That within itself is gonna make you way more than that initial $500, $1,000, $1,500 investment, whatever that number might be. It's gonna help you land more clients. Now, also too, take another, let's say $500 or $1,000 and run an ad on that to get that video in front of a lot more eyeballs, right? Because the biggest mistake that people make is thinking that a video is the end goal. It isn't. Like I always tell people, is that's just a vehicle for you to deliver a specific message to your end consumer. So if you're an installer, it's like, hey, I'm taking this video that now has documented my quality of work, my value, and what I provide in terms of a service, and now I take that and then I put it in front of other people that might be in need of that exact same service, right? And then that's how you continue to grow and scale. So you take one opportunity and now you turn that into 5, 10, 15, 20, whatever that number might be throughout the period of a year. And now that's how you're able to bring in more revenue back into the business. But you have to switch things from, hey, let me get this immediate win, to always be investing. Like Vic didn't get to investing $250,000 in one machine just by thinking like, hey, I'd much rather just have that in my bank account, or hey, I'd much rather just keep it all. No, he's always thought about how can I grow this? How can I continue to invest into the business so that even if I am making 6 figures this year, how can I hit 7 by the next year? Or how can I hit whatever that number might be for you depending on your margins? But always think long term if you truly want to build a business and you aren't just doing it for the money. Because if you do it for the money, I promise you that there's gonna come a time and a place where you're gonna be burnt out and you're gonna be like, I don't even wanna do this anymore. Like, it ain't even fun for me anymore, or whatever. It's like always that constant pursuit of that rush of growth and success is going to give you way more than any amount of money could, because those experiences are, I would say, are, you know, bar none. You know what I mean?
Right. No, yes, of course. Again, I do that. I try to just keep that initial rush going. Yeah. If I'm comfortable, something's not right. I mean, and I think just the fact that I'm like that, I see a lot of my team is like that as well. Like, hey, what are we doing that's different? We've been doing the same thing for a couple weeks now, and so I kind of like that they see what I see when it comes to stuff like
100%.
that. You know?
And I think you're always seeing it for the better term of the company, because they see it too. It's like, hey, our leader is always trying to innovate. He's always trying to do something different. He's always trying to figure out ways for us to be more efficient, bring in more clients, bring in more revenue, because that essentially drips down to everybody else, you know? And
Right.
even with like kind of how we were talking about leveraging that one opportunity and maximizing it, there's also a reason why with Vic, we talk about revenue. There's a reason why we talk about the investments in machinery. There's a reason why we talk about the team aspect of it, because somebody else is going to come and see that and be like, that's the type of person that I want to work with, because they're always constantly reinventing themselves. And if they believe so much in their business to invest $250,000 or to invest X amount of in their own mindset and their skill sets, that shows me that they truly care about what they do. And that means that I'm going to have an excellent customer service whenever I do decide to work with them, right? So when Vic talks about your quality of work, document it, showcase what it is that you do, and blow it up so that now other people can come and see it. And any like, you know, let's say Vic bought, you know, this equipment and that was $250,000. That $250,000 investment is going to bring him an additional, you know, multiple 6 figures, if not 7, because people see the intent and the amount of effort that he takes into his own self and into his own business, which means that you're going to get a better quality service as a client, right? People see that, people analyze that, and I think it also brings in a higher quality client too, because if somebody sees that, it's like you attract where you reflect, right? If I see that you're a power player and you're pivoting and you're making things different, I want to work with you. I want to be around this guy, because that is also who I am, right? And it applies the exact same way as a client. It's like, you know, you were talking about that one client that liked things done a specific way, and you were like, hey, instead of being mad at the client of like, hey, we don't do that, that's not what we do, you told the team, hey, for this one, we're going to do things a little bit more different. At the end of everything, let's be done an hour early so that we make sure that we clean. Like, that's, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Just meeting their needs, on how they want things done. Explain to them how we do certain things, just certain things they want done a certain way. And we just adjust to that and just keep moving forward to give them that satisfaction at the end.
So, you know, it's been a super dope journey, you know, seeing you grow, bro. And one of the things that I like to do is like give people their flowers, right? Because I think we don't get it until we're gone, right? So I just want to congratulate you like on everything that you've done, like from seeing you from where you started, seeing your confidence build up, you know, seeing how you developed this whole infrastructure and this whole company, seeing multiple people now in your team. I just want to congratulate you, bro, because there's not a lot of people that have that same level of effort and that same level of sacrifice when it comes to their craft, and seeing it unfold before my eyes, bro, it's been nothing short of amazing. So I just want to,
I appreciate that. Appreciate that. Ultimate goal is to continue growing, surrounded with people like yourself. You know, that just kind of keeps that motivation going. You know, had a pretty good relationship throughout time, and just always find a way to check up on each other, make sure we're good, and you know. So I appreciate that too.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you, bro. And if you guys want to know more about Vic, he's got a couple ways. A part of his circle. One can either be mentorship. 2, obviously you can hire him if you need a carport and custom install. and then he is looking for team members to join his growing company. So what positions do you have available right now?
Right now, we're looking to get some sales and some roll forming people that could run all our roll formers here. So we're warehouse, labor work, and sales. Also looking for a personal assistant. Things are getting a little rough. There's a lot on my plate, so we're looking to just grow the team. Good environment, and
I love that.
just all grow together.
Yeah, and then I'm gonna leave his. Do you have like a company phone number, or do you want to just direct them to the website,
Yeah, they could go to the website and then just
which is complexsteelbuildings.com?
complexsteelbuildings.com.
Okay,
Yeah.
complexsteelbuildings.com. Again, I'm gonna leave his social and everything down in the description, which is at Castro Victor. I'm gonna leave it down below, so it's just a clickable link, very easy for you guys to go and follow. And again, if you guys have any questions, any comments, feel free to drop them down below. Show some love to Vic, and we'll see you guys in the next. Actually, you know what? Before I finish it, what's like a quote that you want to leave them with? Something that is always in your mind that kind of fuels you whenever you need that like extra push.
You never fail until you stop trying. That's one of my biggest ones that I like to live off of.
Why is that?
Just kind of gives you that message of like keep going. There's always more, whether it's good or bad. Just keep going. Just keep going. Just keep going. You'll figure it out.
Yeah, I agree. And to add on to that, it's like you're gonna make mistakes. Like it doesn't matter who you are or how successful you are, you're gonna make mistakes, right? But the only thing that defines or stops you is like if you give up on that specific mistake, right? Like I've made so many, like you and I were just talking about this on the way up here. I was like, I've had so many roller coasters in my business, as I'm sure every business owner has, that if I would have stopped when that happened to me, I probably would have ended up, at a job or something. But I was like, no, like cool, I made this mistake, I learned from it. I can now continue to push forward so that I don't make it again, right?
Yes,
And
yes,
there
you're very
will
right.
always be different mistakes, you know?
Yep. So always just keep going, keep pushing forward. You'll figure it out one way or another.
Just as long as you don't stop. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Again, I'm gonna be leaving Vic's details down in the description, and I'll see you guys in the next one.